Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with a Cowgirl. I'm Brett Kruger. Today I have a very special guest joining me who has a beautiful story. I've known Donna now for almost 2 decades, and I hate to even say that because I feel like it dates both of us, but it has been that long, even though it doesn't really feel that long. Donna is a person who has a passion for education. She has a passion for barrel horses and that industry, teaching people, and exploration. She has had a hand in helping shape the lives of many people and just show them how great the equine industry actually is. Welcome, Donna. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Breck. It's my pleasure to be here, and it's so great to see you. And I love watching your adventures as well on Facebook.
Well, thank you, Donna. Um, why don't you take a minute, Donna, and just introduce yourself to our viewers? Tell them a bit about yourself and where you reside today.
Okay. So my journey, Breck, started actually, I think I was born loving horses. I remember at 5 years old, I got my first pony. And believe it or not, in the suburbs of Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. So, what I loved, my passion was not at all um, indicative of the area. So, it was like I always felt like I was uh, destined to be a cowgirl. And my whole life, I made choices along the way that passion was my goal. So, I
So,
went to,
Donna, oh,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. Was
go
there
ahead.
anybody in your family who was in the horse industry or loved horses that made you want to be a part of it, or it just was a childhood dream?
Well, actually, which is odd, my parents met on horses riding in a park outside of Philadelphia. So they were kind of had that passion. It ran deep in them, but they got involved in it in their 20s and they met on horses. I think is really cool. And there's three of us, three girls. I'm the oldest. And like I said, when I was 5 years old, I got a pony in the backyard. We kept it sometimes. And then my uncle had a farm in southern New Jersey. And as a crazy kid, of course, I spent a lot of time on the farm and kind of wish that that's where I lived. So all my choices along the way were because of that passion. I was involved in 4 H, which was probably my best venue of learning. And then through that, I did some horse judging, which you know as a child, got me involved at Penn State. And then I went to Penn State and studied agriculture. And my dad, he said, "What the heck? You think you're going to be a farmer?" He had no clue as to what agriculture involved. So I studied agriculture, got into ag economics, and then went on to graduate school at University of Delaware, again East Coast girl, and I took a job with Cargill as a grain merchant in the poultry industry. And throughout that, I did as much horse stuff as I could. And then I ended up in the Midwest, Illinois, through choices with Cargill. And I heard about this community college, Blackhawk College. It was starting an equine program. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be a dream job for me. And through my educational choices and the small amount of horse experience I had, I was qualified for that job. So, what's really cool is education sets the stage for opportunities. And that's going to be kind of a theme of my life. So, my college education, because I was the girl that said, I'm going to get educated. I want horses in my life and I want to be able to do it right. I'm not going to be the stall cleaner. Allowed me the opportunity to get that job at Blackhawk. And when I was hired there were only 7 students, and it was a really small barn, as you know, Brett, because I think you were around in those days. A small
Mhm.
barn, was really cold, no heat. And they told me, if you grow this program, you'll have a job. If you don't, you won't. And
So,
for
for
me,
those of you who don't know, Blackhawk College is a small community. Is not small anymore. It's a community college, an agriculture community college that's in Kewanee, Illinois. Um, Donna's story, which she's going to continue to tell, is amazing because with the help of her and a lot of others, they made Blackhawk into one of the most prestigious two-year agricultural colleges in the United States today. So,
Yeah.
sorry, Donna.
Okay, thank you, Bracken. You know, it is a small college. Actually, there's two campuses. One is in the Galva-Kewanee area, and I always call it in the middle of a cornfield, in the middle of nowhere. So when students and their families would come visit, I would say, if going to the mall and getting a Starbucks is on your agenda at college, this isn't the place for
Not
you.
happening.
But if you want to ride a horse every day or judge cattle or get into the agronomy program, this is the place for you. And you're going to meet students with interests all over the country and actually internationally. We've had some students come in from Venezuela and Brazil and all over. So, I mean, it's a hub in the middle of a cornfield for passionate students like I was when I went to school that were trying to find a career doing what they love.
You know
But
what's
back
funny?
in, go ahead.
Sorry, what's funny, Donna, is it so even as an adult, Blackhawk shaped you. It doesn't just shape people that are in their 20s or starting out in college, youth. It's actually a place that shaped a lot of adults as well. Shaped who they are, what they're doing. So much good comes out of that program. So sorry to interrupt.
No, it's amazing. So when I had that opportunity to take that job, it was wow, I can really grow my skills, as you say, personally as a horsewoman, because they were less than what I wanted them to be for sure. Always a goal for me to be a top competitor in my industry. And I never really had that opportunity to dedicate myself to not only educating others, but educating myself along the way. And, you know, one of our mantras at Blackhawk is lifelong learning. And and when you stop learning, you stop growing. And even today, every day, I learn something. And I have one student, Travis Hochstetter, and he was one of my early students. And he goes, I remember you saying, learn something new every day. And he remembered that since he was 18 years old, you know, and people apply that simple lesson to your life. It's amazing where it can take you.
Absolutely. As Donna said, I am a Blackhawk East graduate, and I was not in the equine program, but I spent a lot of time in the barn because horses have been my life forever, and a lot of my friends were in that program. So for me as a woman, knowing Donna for over 2 decades, looking back and seeing where she's taken this program and where it is today is simply amazing, because she is a woman who is definitely shaped that industry. And I think that's so important for women to look at today, because at the time, like Donna said, that program, it was literally a little Quonset barn kind of. It had 7 stalls, dark lighting. The indoor was super small. And to see the talent that she grew out of that program and where those people are today, and not only that, but what her vision, her path, her goals for that program and where she took it. I mean, when they told her, you either grow this program or you don't have a job, she took it seriously and she killed that opportunity. She she literally killed it, because it is an amazing program. And a lot of that has to do with the foundation that Donna laid over her time there. So go ahead, Donna.
Thank you, Breck. So that was about 1990, and I spent 28 years there. And we went, as you said, from 7 students, little tiny barn, to now there's over 100 stalls there. There's 100 by 250 heated arena. Over 100 students usually annually are riding, whether they're on the intercollegiate horse show team, which that's something I developed along the way, or in the equestrian science or horse science program. So it's a significant program. You know, I don't want to brag too much, but we had a 2-year program, and competed in the intercollegiate horse show with 4-year schools like Ohio State, Findlay College, and our students did well because they worked hard, they rode every day, they had that passion. And some of the days started around there at 6 a.m. with chores. And if they were on a riding team or judging team like you are, Breck, they were there till 10 o'clock at night, and they loved it. And they grew from it, and they had so many opportunities as a result of that hard work. So, for instance, over the course of those last, I think it was 20 years, we had the equestrian team. We had over 25 national and reserve national champion riders on the equestrian team. And then they would be recruited from other colleges to finish up that bachelor's degree. It's always something we promoted because, again, I'm going to go back to my choices in life. That bachelor's degree, that master's degree, those were put into my pocket, which provided opportunities for me and other students to be able to do things like I did at that college. And what's really cool is when you have a passion and you love something, you don't work a day in your life, as you know. And it's easy to be good at it when you love it and you make that a priority and your choice. And that's been my life. And I see that in so many students and alumni like yourself doing this program that you do, Breck. It's just so inspiring for me to see the outcomes of our graduates. For instance, the young woman that took my job, which I had a chance to nurture her. She was a student at Black Hawk, went on to Findlay. She had won, I think, 5 national titles in intercollegiate riding. She was also a world champion judge on the judging team. And then she went and worked at University of Florida and had a chance to come back. And that's who my replacement was at Black Hawk. So when I did have the opportunity to start following some of my other passions and building on that, I felt good because the program was left in good hands.
Absolutely. Not many people have that opportunity to help shape and pick the person who's their predecessor. And that's really cool, Donna, that you did, especially because you built something that was so special and helped create so many great people in the equine industry, which is something you're passionate about. Not many people get that opportunity. So that's just really cool. And Becca's vision, as we talked earlier, it's the same goal, but maybe a different vision in different aspects of the industry. And the industry, I'm sure that you can say too, is changing so fast.
Oh my God. It's crazy.
It is crazy. What are some things, Donna, that you've seen over the years, how it's changing? What's one of the biggest things that you think has changed over the years in your time?
We have these discussions quite often. You know, I'm lucky, right now in my life, I work with Sharon Camarillo. She's in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. She's just an icon in barrel racing and horsemanship. And you know, I get to work with a lot of people like that. And we have this discussion quite a bit. And it's interesting that there's so many educational opportunities out there, you know, whether it's, you know, online, YouTube's, professional clinic goers. And that's what I do now I'm going to Grand Junction, Colorado next week, actually, to do some clinics. But as much as that is out there, the common horse person is kind of the least educated as we've seen them. Because, you know, when I grew up, there was Pony Club and 4-H and a lot of youth programs that, you know, that you would learn the parts of the horse, the parts of the saddle, you know, some really good horsemanship. And what we see is a general, on it, you know, lack of that. So, as much education is out there, there's a real lack of education, common sense. And, you know, we see this quite often. You know, go to a clinic and a bridle, the chin strap's in the wrong place, the saddle's hurting the horse. So, you know, that's what I see. And we always feel good when we leave our clinics because we know we're doing right by the horse.
Donna, talking about that, I just was having this conversation with somebody this week over the weekend, because as you mentioned before, 4-H was a really big part of your life and helped shape who you are today. And it gave you an opportunity to be in an environment where you were able to learn about horses. And I'm upset with myself, but there is still time to do it, I guess, a short amount of time. But we didn't get I was heavily involved in 4-H too, but because of our schedule, I haven't gotten our kids involved with 4-H as much as I would like. And I think that there's so many benefits to it, and not only meeting people and interacting with the different people in your community, but you learn a lot of stuff too. Unfortunately, it feels like 4-H is going down in numbers because, excuse me, the amount of volunteers that are out there to help programs like that continue.
And educated volunteers.
Yes.
You have to have good educated leaders. And even I'm helping a young lady out here, 9 years old, and I'm going to be leaving soon. I travel a lot. I joke as my life is the gypsy cowgirl, but it's been a real challenge finding a good mentor and horse coach for this young lady, because there's so many people that, you know, they're maybe not qualified, or their intentions could be more money based, you know, and you hate to see people, oh, you need a new horse, oh, you need a new saddle, when they really need to maximize and learn and have a good foundation. So yeah, it's a tough deal.
It is something that I always think is so interesting, and I just love a lot of really good horse people, professional horse people that I've met over the years. They started with just a dream like yourself, and they didn't have the best of anything. They figured it out along the way, put their time, their energy, and their heart into being better every day. And I love that. That I think that I just think back to all the professionals I know where that's where their story started. And that is so cool, because look at where you are today and look where you came from.
Yeah. And it, you know, like that's one thing at Blackhawk, we could teach them for semester, you know, Western horsemanship. And my goal in that class was to teach them how to learn. So where do you go from here after the 16 weeks? I actually had students cry, how am I going to get better? Well, it's my job to teach you how to be a good learner. You know, seek out, it used to be really good articles in magazines like Horse and Rider and Equus and things like that. But, you know, those magazines have kind of gone away, and our attention spans have changed. They're really short. Like, I pick up an article now, and sometimes it's hard to get from the front to the back. So they want us to write, and I've written some articles for magazines in 500 words or less. Tell me how to do this. And it's really hard, you know. So, you know, developing that ability to stay focused, and that's kind of part of the mental game. Once you get good and you get your skills, now I'm going down another track, is developing that ability to stay focused and keep your mind in the game for more than a minute. If you're making a 16-second barrel run, you know, or reining, it's got to be 3 minutes. And, you know, you really have to practice that focus, mental discipline, and that commitment, you know, staying committed to your goals.
Well, because of your time at Blackhawk, Donna, and because of how the program works with placing students in the hands of equine professionals to get them where they want to go in life, you've had the opportunity to network with a lot of amazing people over the years. And well, I think that Blackhawk and your networking is how you got to be really good friends and pick up a mentor in Sharon. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. We do that for our students, and I did that for myself. I went to one of her...
I love that, folks. Did you just hear what she said? Yeah. I did that for myself. Love that. Good.
Yes. Good. So I think it was, I don't know, 1999, something like that. She was coming to do clinics in Wisconsin. So, of course, I took my course and made it a goal to go. And I learned so many things that I thought I knew that I didn't know. and that's part of a clinic. It's like that. Oh my God, I should have known that, or gosh, that was like a aha moment, and you just want to beat yourself up because you didn't know it, but that's part of learning. You don't know
That's
what
part
you
of
don't
learning.
know. Yeah. So anyway, I went there, and actually I took a horse that I'd been winning at the amateur rodeos on, and when I went home, I wasn't winning. My time slowed down, and my husband at the time said, "You need to forget all that nonsense you learned at the clinic and go back to what you were doing." And I said, "You know what? The nonsense I learned at the clinic is based on good horsemanship. And that is why I chose Sharon's program. You know, a foundation is a foundation. If it doesn't make sense, why follow it? There's no trickery. Trickery doesn't um, have longevity in this industry or any industry. So I went back to the basics, and by the end of the summer, I was winning and surpassing um, the the area that I was, as far as the level that I was. And it kind of transitioned me from amateur rodeo into pro rodeo. And every year for 6 years, I made it a point to go to her clinic. And Sharon is from California, and I was in the Midwest, and there were not a lot of good resources in timed events in that area. So, of course, I sought that out and took advantage of it. And then we developed a friendship, and I actually had a chance through the college, because they commit resources for instructors to grow professionally. And they granted me a semester off, and I actually got to come out to California and Arizona and work for Sharon for a semester. And we developed a lifelong friendship from there. And then I had the dream of, when I retire from Blackhawk, when I get that opportunity, which I had in 2017, I'm going to do that more professionally, because I started teaching with her, doing clinics in the summer or during my times off. So now I travel with her, and we do clinics nationally and internationally. I've been to Australia and Canada, also Hawaii, which also recruited students into Blackhawk. And now we work together. We design equipment for reinsmen. We do clinics, like I said, nationally now, because we're kind of shut down internationally. And then I have more time to dedicate myself to my professional goals of competing. I call them sophomores. I have 3 6-year-olds. And in barrel racing, that's usually their second year competition. I call them the know it alls, because they've been through their freshman year. Now they think they know it. And that's, I think, the hardest time, and probably the most important time in developing a horse is, they have their ABCs. Now you're out there calling on them, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. And that ability to bring them back to their foundation and take them to their next event and develop their confidence, so that's what I'm doing with my sophomores. So, life is good for me. And again, my educational choices as a young adult, I did my due diligence at Blackhawk, which I loved every bit of my career there. And I left when things were great, handed over the reins to someone that I knew would do a wonderful job and continue that legacy, because I feel like that's part of me. And there's a scholarship fund in my name there too, which I'm very, very proud of that. So when young men and women come in and they have limited resources, which I did, boy, my family, everything I got, I earned. They could not, fund me the trucks and the trailers and the horses. I had to earn it all myself. So, now I'm at a spot in my life where I'm living the dream. I spend my winters in Arizona competing, doing some clinics, working with a select group of uh, oops, are we good?
There we go. Yeah, we're good now. Mhm.
So winters in Arizona, I'll go back this fall, spend some time in Illinois, teach a little at the college, and then I'm going to do some competing in the Midwest. And then I have some friends in Colorado, so I'll hang out there a little bit. And then my spring and summers in California. So like I'm truly a gypsy cowgirl, which it's fun. And to have people all over the country that you know and you hang out with, it just presents opportunities that they're well worth taking. And it's kind of cool too out here in California, which is a long ways from Illinois. There's several grads of our program. This past weekend, I just saw, was David Lawson there when you went to Blackhawk?
I
I don't
feel like
David Lawson. He's a
yeah,
barrel horse trainer. Yeah.
yeah,
So I just spent some time with him. So I everywhere I go, I do run into Blackhawk graduates. So that network is a lifelong network of
absolutely.
yeah, of talented people.
Well, Donna, as Donna said, after she retired from Blackhawk, now she's been able to be on the road, truly living out probably a lot of our dreams, getting to see a lot of beautiful country, be with a lot of really neat, influential people in the industry. And she's continuing her education while helping others, which is so important. As she said earlier, when you stop learning, that's when you stop growing. And she's not giving that up. Very
No.
cool, Donna.
It was neat too.
Donna,
To ask,
what are
oh,
some
sorry. Go
things?
ahead.
No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was going to say what's really neat too.
I was
We're
gonna say,
learning we're learning as we go. And, when I left Blackhawk, I thought, well, I'm going to really have a lot of time to focus on myself and my competitive goals. And I have done that. But another thing that I've learned along the way is my true passion is helping others. I have some young ladies that high school rodeo, college rodeo, but what I've really enjoyed is these middle-aged women that are coming back to the equine discipline. And I get to work with them a lot through clinics, and I have some that are in this area of California I work with, and some down in Arizona. And it's so fun just watching them grow as horsewomen and accomplish their goals. And most importantly, develop a better relationship with their horse, because sometimes we forget that it's not just about, winning or times and barrel racing. It's about, we have a love of the horse. That's our core value that hold us together. And when you can enjoy your horse better and have a better relationship with them, for me that's like icing on the cake. So I've learned that recently in my 3 or 4 years of non-college education. So,
teaching.
yeah.
Donna, with the students that you're teaching now, you said the high school rodeoers, college rodeoers, and the middle-aged women. I know that mental focus and being mentally prepared plays a large role in any competition aspect of your life. Is there any um, is there any advice you can give us on how, or things that you do, or things that you've taught to people to stay mentally focused? Because I think that's the hardest thing for women, especially.
It is, like, okay, number one, confidence comes from education. So you did your ABCs. We're just going to assume that. We call it plan the run and then run the plan, whether that's a barrel pattern, a horsemanship pattern, or, going down the rail. You have to have a plan when you come in the arena. So then it comes time, you did all that to do the competition. And, a lot of times the jitters, I have students that say, I don't even remember what happened in that run or pattern. And, it from, and I've been there, believe me.
Me
We
too.
know a lot because a lot and we've done most of the things wrong. So there's some things, and we use this a lot in our intercollegiate riding, because these students will get on a horse they never rode before and have to ride a pattern in front of an AQHA judge. How do you plan for that? Well, mental visualization is really good. So just mentally seeing yourself stride by stride doing your event, whatever it is. It might be riding 7 strides to the first barrel, sit, rate, turn, look, finish. Where's your focal points? So that visualization of what you want to accomplish. Then taking some deep breaths, believe it or not, before they call your name. Barrel horses get crazy. I don't know how they know. Donna, Irvin, you're on deck, and they start getting crazy. Well, how is that? It's because your body gets
Telling them.
tense. You put maybe a little bit of weight in your stirrups. So one thing I'll do is wiggle my toes. It sends endorphins throughout your body and it helps you relax. Horses are sensitive. They feel that. So just that simple thing of energy to your feet, wiggling your toes, licking your lips, taking a deep breath, that can give you that energy and air to walk through the gate and do what you've trained your body to do visually and through your practices. And then after that, it's about assessing your performance, developing your plan, and then going again. So, when you start breaking it down that way, you get real systematic about it. Next thing you know, you're developing confidence. There's confidence in experience and having the education. So, having faith in what you do.
I love that. That's great advice, Donna.
You're welcome.
What you've done a lot of things, a lot of really cool things, a lot of things that are big. What has been to date your biggest accomplishment, Donna?
In my life, I'm going to say Black Hawk College. I mean, my gosh, to grow that program and take it to where it is now, and to know that I've impacted so many lives like you, Breck. I mean, that I was inducted into the Wall of Fame at Black Hawk College. It'll be 2 years ago in September. And I have to say, it's going to make me cry. That was like the best night of my life, to be acknowledged for that career and seeing all those people in the room and the generosity. They started a scholarship in my name. And to think that I can open the doors for people, it's an endowed scholarship, forever and ever, that have a passion and a dream. I mean, that to me is my greatest accomplishment.
I told Donna earlier that I could cry thinking about what she's done for Blackhawk, and it is because I was a horse person when I went to Blackhawk, but I was not in the equine program. But I seen the people that came from the city that loved horses. I seen those little girls who just loved them so much, and to see what Donna did with those girls and guys, to give them a light spark in their life for the equine industry and a passion to go on, do more, be more. And what she did with that program over the years is truly remarkable. I mean, when I was there, Donna, the program was smaller. And at that time, they were just starting the intercollegiate riding program. And they were giving scholarships, small scholarships, out to people who had never done it before, or, because you weren't at a point, you were just starting to grow it. I'm probably not saying this right, but you guys got to the point where you started recruiting people from others, from recruiting people right out of high school to be on your team and give them big scholarships to go to school at Blackhawk, which is amazing. It is so cool when you think about that.
Cool. And what's cool about intercollegiate riding is there's all different divisions. So there's a beginner division and they walk trot. And it's like for riders that have never ridden, actually, they couldn't have more than 5 years off and on of instruction, never have shown a horse. So there's a division for that. And I'm proud to say that we developed many beginner national champion riders because they worked hard, they were passionate. Every day there was a plan. It goes back to what I was saying, plan the run, run the plan, which they didn't even know what the plan was because about the horse show industry, and to see them take off from there. I mean, it's just crazy. And they could work their way up. We've had a lot of intermediate level riders, kind of, I guess I would have been one. Definitely when I was young, I could walk, trot, lope, showed a little in 4-H, but I didn't know anything, honestly. I was doing the best I could and having a ball. And those riders, a lot of those we developed up into the open and reining division, just in 2 to 3 years. A lot of students would stay 3 years there because they loved it so much. So, you work hard. I have a t-shirt. It's so silly. It says, work hard, do good. And it's true. And we did at Blackhawk, as you know, whether it was judging, equestrian team, sending students out on internships, which I wanted to touch on that too. Our network is huge. And like we get a student in that, oh, I love reining and I've done a little reining, and we have contacts, and they go work for some of the greats out there and they develop that mentorship like I have with Sharon. And like one person I'm really proud of right now is Cole Price. I don't know if you know of him.
The
He's
rain.
for the $1 million next weekend. And, he went to Blackhawk, and his background was draft horses from his grandpa. He developed an interest in reining. And I just knew from day one that he was going to make it because he dreamed it. He lived it. He dressed it. He would come to school, dressed it. Costuming is important. Put your
Dress for
best foot
success.
forward. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that young man is riding in that $1 million thing this weekend. I'm just so excited for him. So,
Well, absolutely. Go Cole. We
yeah.
hope that he's able to do good in that event. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go Eggy.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, Donna, your story is just women cowgirls out there doing good in the industry and bringing so much education and inspiration to other cowgirls to go out there and do good and be better. It's amazing. That is what I love. That's where my heart is being the inspiration for others. And you've definitely done that, and you're continuing to do that. And I love the fact that you are now getting to travel and see the world, because it's pretty amazing.
So could I give a couple little plugs to some places people could maybe reach out?
Absolutely,
Have
Donna.
passion. Well, number one's Blackhawk College East Campus. Becca Irish. They're on Facebook. You're going to see Blackhawk College Equine Program. And definitely, check that out. And it's not just for young people. We've had middle-aged women. We had a retired priest actually go through the program, and he worked in some of the therapeutic riding when he got finished at Blackhawk. So, that's a great place to go, great place to get connected. I'm going to say, good clinics are a good way to learn, but do your due diligence. Study the person, get a feel for the program. Does it fit into what your goals are? Whether it's horsemanship, the Buck Brannaman programs, Chris Cox, those kind of things. Barrel racing, I gotta say, Team Camarillo is the way to go. We're horseman based. We have a closed group called Team Camarillo Closed Group on Facebook. So if you're interested in barrel racing and horsemanship, request to join that. And then there's also some open groups, Sharon Camarillo, public figure, or myself. I would love to be your friend on Facebook, and feel free to private message me too. I love to help people. So I'm extending my hand out there to that.
Donna is an incredible resource and a great person to know and train under. So highly recommend that. Thank you, Donna, for sharing that information with everyone.
You're
Donna,
welcome.
one last question. Can you tell us, our hashtag is be the cowgirl that you want to be. And that's pretty important to me, because I think that sometimes you lose who you want to be as a cowgirl along the way of growing up in life. So what does be the cowgirl you want to be mean to you?
Oh my gosh. it's every day for me, and I feel lucky that because, I've gotten to a position that it's every day, get up, feed your horses, and, make the best of every day. I think when you go out in public, just it's simple. I go to a lot of barrel races and I see people in a muscle shirt and, they don't put any thought into, I have pride in being a cowgirl. So when I talked to Breck this morning, I'm going to wear my hat and my shirt. And, I go out in public. I want to represent what I do and who I am and be a good role model and mentor to the next generation. So, that's kind of where I am at life. And I'm going to go back to like Cole Price as a young man. If you love it, be proud, put your hat on, and be proud of what you are and what your passion is. And you'd be surprised the doors that will open and the choices that you'll have. And make those tough choices. I've made a lot of tough choices. Someone told me once, take the road less traveled. And I've done that a lot.
You embraced it.
I have, to think about where I am growing up in outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs to now I spend the majority of my time in California, Arizona, and the West. And, I feel so blessed to be here, but I can't forget too that I made a lot of hard choices to get here and it pays off. So work hard, do good.
Life is full of hard choices.
It is. Do the right thing, even when it's hard.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. One last plug for Sharon. If you didn't know, Sharon has a podcast and Donna is featured on that. So make sure that you check out Sharon's podcast. What's it called again?
Oh, it's called Fun and Fast Times, and we're actually doing one this Friday. It'll be up probably in a week or two. And we're going to talk about putting your team together, meaning, and it's been a challenge for me, traveling as much as I am to have a good horseshoe or a good ferry or body, or that kind of thing. So we're going to be addressing that this Friday, but there's a whole plethora of them. If you go to her website, 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚗𝚒𝚗𝚒𝚘, click on podcast and you'll see there's like 30 some of them. And one of them I did too, Breck, was called The Mental Game. So we went into
a good one.
yeah, we went into a lot of detail on that and also interviewed some other people. And then there's one with Cole Price too. It talks about the value of education. So, there's some good resources out there. So as you're driving, bring it up. And of course, Sharon interviews a lot of the top, if you're into rodeo contestants too, as they make their way to the NFR. So it's a lot of fun and fast times. Sharon Camarillo.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and joining us today, Donna. I love your story. I love the path that you created for other women, and how you've shaped just so many people. Your story really is inspiring and we love it. So thank you again. And thank you all for tuning in today. I hope that you tune in next week and join us with Coffee and a Cowgirl, 10 o'clock on Thursdays. Have a great week, everybody.